All right, you bunch of slack-jawed yokels, saddle up, because today we're going to wrangle some knowledge about this Yellowstone shit that's got everyone's panties in a twist.
It really is amazing how this show, Yellowstone, it taps into all those like anxieties that Americans have, about land and legacy and like the whole changing face of the West.
It's like a modern-day Western, but with helicopters and a shitload of cash.
Exactly.
So we've got like a whole stack of articles and interviews and some of our own notes.
Oh, yeah.
And our mission today is to cut through the bullshit and give you the lowdown on Yellowstone, from its like surprising origins to its crazy-ass popularity.
So good.
And trust me, there's more to this show than just Stetsons and swagger.
A lot more.
So
let's start with the mastermind behind it all, Taylor Sheridan.
oh yeah, this Sheridan guy.
This dude's like the Quentin Tarantino of the neo-Western, churning out hit after hit.
Okay, so this Sheridan guy, he's got this reputation for writing these gritty, character-driven stories. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty, showing the violence and moral compromises that come with the territory.
Exactly. He's got this knack for capturing the raw realities of people living on the edge, whether they're cowboys, cops, or criminals.
Right.
His stories often revolve around themes of family loyalty and the struggle for power in a world that's often unforgiving.
And Yellowstone is no exception.
No, it's not.
It's this sprawling saga about the Dutton family who own the biggest goddamn ranch in Montana. They're constantly battling land developers, the neighboring Broken Rock Reservation, and oh yeah, each other.
It's like Shakespeare meets Dallas with horses and guns thrown in for good measure.
Damn right. So we've got John Dutton, the patriarch.
Oh, yeah.
Played by the one and only Kevin Costner. This guy is a tough-as-nails rancher who's seen it all. He's trying to hold on to his land and his legacy, but his family's got more issues than a goddamn rodeo clown.
Yeah. You've got Case Allure, the war veteran turned reluctant rancher wrestling with his own demons. Beth, the ruthless businesswoman who's as sharp as a diamond and twice as dangerous. And Jamie, the adopted son who's always felt like an outsider.
It's like each kid represents a different facet of the American West, struggling to find their place in a world that's changing faster than a bronco at the National Finals Rodeo.
Exactly. And that's what makes the show so compelling. It's not just a bunch of cowboys riding around shooting guns. It's about family legacy and the fight to survive in a world that's increasingly hostile to traditional values.
And the show doesn't shy away from the dark side of that fight.
No, it doesn't.
We see the violence, the corruption, the moral compromises that come with defending your territory. It's not all sunsets and horseback rides.
Exactly. Sheridan shows us the grit, the blood, the sweat, and the tears that go into ranching in the modern West. It's a romantic vision, but with a healthy dose of reality.
Speaking of reality, one thing that surprised the hell out of me is that HBO initially passed on this show.
Really?
Can you believe that shit?
I can't believe it.
They missed out big time. It ended up on the Paramount Network and became their first scripted series. Talk about a lucky break.
It's true. Apparently, they didn't think a show about a bunch of cowboys in Montana would resonate with audiences.
Boy, were they wrong.
Boy, were they wrong.
Yellowstone became a massive hit, drawing in huge viewership numbers. It's like it tapped into something primal, this yearning for wide open spaces, strong families, and a simpler way of life.
And it's not just the heartland folks tuning in. The show's popularity. It crosses demographics, appealing to anyone who loves a good story with complex characters and high stakes.
Speaking of complex characters, let's talk about Kevin Costner for a second.
Yeah.
This dude was only supposed to be in the show for one season.
Oh, wow.
But he ended up staying for 3. I guess those Montana vistas and those fat paychecks were hard to resist.
Yeah, I think it goes beyond that. I think Costner saw something special in the show, in the character.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine Yellowstone without him. Now, he embodies John Dutton perfectly. The stoicism, the strength, the quiet authority.
He really does.
But let's not forget about the supporting cast.
Of course not.
They're all fantastic, bringing these flawed and fascinating characters to life.
Absolutely. The chemistry between the actors is undeniable, and it really elevates the show. You believe in their relationships and their conflicts and their love and their hate.
And let's not forget the women of Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah.
They're not just sitting on the sidelines baking cookies and waiting for the men to come home.
No, sir. They're powerful forces to be reckoned with. Take Beth, for example. She's a goddamn whirlwind of ambition, intelligence, and ruthlessness.
Yeah.
She'll cut you down with a word and then buy your company just to spite you.
And then you've got Monica Casey's wife.
Great.
She's a Native American woman who's caught between two worlds. She's trying to raise her son with her cultural traditions while navigating the complexities of the Dutton family.
The women of Yellowstone are just as tough and complex as the men, and they add a whole other layer of intrigue to the show.
Damn right. They're not just love interests or damsels in distress. They're players in the game, fighting for what they believe in, just like the men.
And that's refreshing to see in a genre that's often dominated by male characters.
Okay, so we've got this powerful family, a sprawling ranch, and a bunch of hungry wolves circling, ready to take a bite out of the Duttons' empire.
It's a recipe for disaster.
But what's really at stake here is the land itself.
Absolutely.
Right, the show is about so much more than just cowboys and horses. It's about the changing face of the American West,
No.
the conflict between tradition and progress, and the battle for the soul of a nation.
And it's a battle that's being fought on multiple fronts, in the courtroom, in the boardroom, and sometimes in the goddamn dirt.
So if you're looking for a show that's got it all, drama, action, romance, betrayal, stunning scenery, then look no further than Yellowstone. It's a wild ride that will leave you wanting more.
You got that right.
Just be prepared for a few bumps along the way. This show is not for the faint of heart.
Definitely not.
Now let's take a quick swig of this firewater and dive deeper into this Yellowstone madness.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready to rustle up some more knowledge.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go. So we've established that Yellowstone is this massive hit, pulling in viewers like flies to a pile of, well, you get the picture, but...
It ain't all sunshine and rainbows, right?
Right, it ain't all sunshine and rainbows. This show has pissed some people off and they ain't afraid to sling some mud.
Yeah, it's like those fancy pants critics can't handle a show that doesn't fit their mold. They're all about deconstructing this, analyzing that, and missing the damn point entirely.
Right.
What are they saying about our beloved Yellowstone?
Well, some of them are saying it's all hat and no cattle.
Oh, come on.
They claim the show romanticizes the cowboy life, ignoring the real struggles of modern ranchers and farmers.
Well, hold your horses there, partner. Those ranchers face real challenges. I mean, they're dealing with development pressures, environmental regulations, and the goddamn price of hay skyrocketing faster than a meth head's heartbeat.
Absolutely. But the critics argue that Yellowstone simplifies these issues, turning the cowboy into some kind of mythical hero fighting against evil city slickers and their liberal agendas. They're saying it's all a bunch of red state propaganda appealing to those folks who think their way of life is under attack.
So they're saying Sheridan's pushing a political agenda, trying to brainwash folks with his cowboy tales. Come on, that's bullshit. The man himself has said he doesn't see the show as political. He's just trying to tell a damn good story.
Right. Well, whether he intends it or not, the show has definitely tapped into a cultural nerve. It resonates with folks who feel like they've been left behind by the modern world, folks who yearn for a time when things were simpler, clearer, more American.
You know what I get? That there's a certain appeal to the Yellowstone world, this idea of self-reliance, rugged individualism, and fighting for what you believe in.
Right.
It's like a goddamn antidote to all the bullshit we see in the world today.
But let's not forget that Yellowstone is fiction.
Yeah.
It's a story, a damn good one at that, but it ain't a documentary.
Right. Sheridan's playing with archetypes, with myths. He's using the Western genre to explore some pretty deep themes about family legacy and the American dream.
And he's doing it in a way that's visually stunning, emotionally gripping, and thought-provoking. Whether you agree with the show's politics or not, you can't deny that it's sparked a conversation.
Damn right. It's gotten people talking about land use conservation and the relationship between rural and urban America.
Yeah.
It's got to count for something, right?
Absolutely. And let's be honest, sometimes a good story can do more to change hearts and minds than any political speech or op-ed.
So we've got this show that's entertaining as hell, visually stunning, and gets people talking about important issues. Sounds like a winning formula to me.
It does.
But let's get back to the man behind the curtain, this Taylor Sheridan guy.
Okay.
Who the hell is he, and how did he become the king of the neo-Western?
He's a fascinating character. That's for sure. He didn't just fall out of the sky and land on a pile of scripts. The man's got a past of history.
Spill the beans, Professor. What's the dirt on this Sheridan fella?
Well, he actually started out as an actor, believe it or not. You might have seen him in shows like Sons of Anarchy and Veronica Mars.
Get the fuck out of here. No way, that scrawny dude playing a biker. I don't buy it.
It's true, but acting wasn't his true calling. He eventually shifted his focus to writing and directing, and that's where he really hit his stride.
And boy, did he hit it hard. The man's got a Midas touch when it comes to storytelling. Every damn thing he touches turns to gold.
He's got this uncanny ability to create characters that are both flawed and relatable. They're tough, they're gritty, they make questionable choices, but you can't help but root for them.
It's like he sees the humanity in everyone, even the assholes and the outlaws.
Exactly. And he's not afraid to explore the dark side of human nature, the violence, the greed, the lust for power.
That's what makes his shows so damn compelling. He doesn't shy away from the ugliness of the world, but he also finds beauty in the most unexpected places.
And he does it all with this raw, visceral style that grabs you by the throat and doesn't let go.
Yeah, his shows ain't for the faint of heart.
No, they're not.
But for those of us who like our entertainment with a little edge, a little grit, a little bit of the old ultra-violence, Sheridan's the man.
He's a master of his craft, there's no doubt about it. And he's not afraid to take risks, to push boundaries, to challenge the status quo.
And that's why he's so damn successful. He's not content to churn out the same old tired tropes. He's constantly pushing the envelope, trying new things, exploring new territories.
It's refreshing to see someone with his level of talent and success who's still hungry, still looking for new ways to tell stories.
So we've talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to Yellowstone. We've delved into its themes, its creator, its cultural impact. But now it's time to get down to brass tacks. What's the real deal with this show? What makes it tick? What's the secret sauce that's got everyone hooked?
Well, I think it all comes down to this. Yellowstone taps into something primal, something deep within the American psyche.
Okay.
It's a story about land, about family, about legacy, about the struggle to survive in a world that's changing faster than a coyote running from a pack of wolves.
It's a story that resonates with anyone who's ever felt like an outsider, anyone who's ever fought for what they believe, and anyone who's ever loved and lost.
It's a story about the American West, but it's also a story about the American dream, about the promise of a better life, about the hope that we can build something that will last, something that will matter.
And it's a story that's beautifully told with characters you care about, scenery that takes your breath away, and action that keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Yellowstone is a show that gets under your skin and stays with you long after the credits roll. It's a show that makes you think, makes you feel, and makes you want to saddle up and ride off into the sunset.
Damn right. But before we do, let's take a closer look at the music. Because, let's be honest, a good soundtrack can make or break a show. And Yellowstone's got one that's as epic as the Montana landscape itself.
Absolutely. The music is so integral to the show's atmosphere, to its emotional impact.
Yeah.
It's a blend of modern country folk and Americana with just a touch of that classic Western twang.
It's like the perfect soundtrack for a long, dusty ride across the plains with a six-shooter on your hip and a heart full of longing.
The music is both haunting and hopeful, reflecting the duality of the Yellowstone world. And they use it so effectively, building tension in key scenes, creating a sense of melancholy and reflection in others.
It really adds to the show.
It's like the music is another character in the show, adding layers of depth and emotion to the story.
And let's not forget the theme song, that haunting melody that's become as iconic as the show itself.
Oh yeah, it's the perfect introduction to the world of Yellowstone, setting the tone for the epic saga that's about to unfold.
Okay, partner. I think we've wrung about as much knowledge out of this topic as we can. For now, time to saddle up and move on to the final stretch of our Yellowstone Roundup.
Lead the way, amigo. I'm ready to see what treasures we can unearth in this final leg of our journey.
All right, you sons of bitches. We're back and ready to wrap up this deep dive into Yellowstone. We've covered a shitload of ground, from the show's origins to its crazy-ass characters to its cultural impact. Now it's time to talk legacy. What kind of mark has this show left on the entertainment landscape and the world beyond the TV screen?
Well, Yellowstone has definitely shaken things up. It's revived the Western genre, proving that cowboys, ranchers, and the wide-open spaces can still captivate a modern audience who had thought a show about a bunch of roughnecks in Montana would become a global phenomenon.
It's like Yellowstone reminded everyone that there's still a hunger for stories about family land and those age-old conflicts between tradition and progress.
For sure.
But let's not forget the impact it's had on the state of Montana itself. I mean, the show's practically a goddamn tourism ad for Big Sky Country.
It's true. The show has brought a surge of visitors to Montana, folks, eager to experience the beauty and grandeur of the landscapes they see on screen. Local businesses are raking in the cash. But it's also raising concerns about the impact of increased tourism and development on the state's environment and culture.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you've got the economic benefits, but on the other, you've got the risk of turning a pristine wilderness into a goddamn theme park.
Right.
Like, nobody wants to see a bunch of tourists trampling all over the place, taking selfies with bison and leaving their trash behind.
No, definitely not.
The show itself explores this tension between preservation and progress. It shows the challenges faced by ranchers who are trying to hold on to their way of life while also acknowledging the pressures of a changing world.
Exactly. And let's not forget the spin-offs.
So yeah, the spinoffs.
Sheridan's created a whole damn Yellowstone universe, expanding the saga across different generations and locations. We've got 1883, which follows the Duttons' ancestors on their journey, West 1923, set during Prohibition and the Great Depression, and 6666, which takes place on a historic Texas ranch.
It's like Sheridan's building a dynasty, a multi-generational epic that explores the history and evolution of the American West.
And he's not showing any signs of slowing down.
The man's a goddamn machine. But beyond the economic impact in the expanding fictional universe, I think Yellowstone has left a mark on a deeper level.
I agree.
It's sparked conversations about land use conservation and the rights of indigenous people.
And
It's forced us to confront some uncomfortable truths about the history of the American West, about the exploitation of resources and the displacement of Native Americans. It's a reminder that the legacy of the past continues to shape the present.
It is.
And it's also a reminder that the stories we tell matter.
They do.
They shape our understanding of the world, our values and our beliefs. And Yellowstone, for all its flaws and controversies, has tapped into something deep within the American psyche.
It's a story that speaks to our fears and anxieties about the future, our longing for a simpler time, our desire for connection and belonging. It's a reminder that even in a world that's increasingly divided and disconnected, there are still stories that can unite us, stories that can make us feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
Damn, that's some deep shit.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're right. Yellowstone, for all its over-the-top drama and cowboy swagger, has managed to touch on something universal, something that transcends genre and demographics. It's a story that resonates with anyone who's ever felt like they're fighting for something, whether it's their family, their land, their way of life, or their very identity.
For sure.
And even though the series itself is coming to an end, the Yellowstone saga will continue to live on in its spin-offs, in its imitators, and in the hearts of those who have been captivated by its epic tale of family land and the enduring spirit of the American West.
It's a story that will continue to be told and retold, evolving with each generation, reflecting our changing understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
All right, you magnificent bastards. That's a wrap on our Yellowstone deep dive. We've laughed, we've learned, we've contemplated the fate of the American West. Now go forth and spread the goddamn knowledge.